너 내 해. 아니, 너 내 등 뒤에서 해. Chapter 3. The Secret Thought. The bearded man smiled at Annie. My name is Plato. He said, Plato? Said Jack. That name sounded familiar. You may have heard of me, the man said. I'm a philosopher. 아, 플라톤을 갖다 플라토라고 하는 거야? What's that mean? Said Annie. A robber of wisdom. A robber of wisdom. 지혜를 사랑하는 사람. Said Plato. Wow, said Annie. Plato smiled at her. It's odd to see a girl walking so bravely through Olympia. He said, you must be from far away. You're Jack and Annie. We are Jack and Annie, said Annie, and we come from Frog Creek, Pennsylvania. It's very far away. Plato looked puzzled. Annie turned to Jack. I think we should show him our card, she said in a low voice. He's a robber of wisdom. Jack nodded. He reached into his bag and took out the secret library card. He showed them to Float. The letter M and L that stood for Master Librarian glittered on the card. Amazing, said Plato. I've never met such a young Master Librarian. Why have you come to Olympia? Jack pulled out a piece of paper with the title of the story. We are looking for this story, he said. Oh, yes, said Plato softly. This was written by a brilliant poet, a friend of mine, in fact. Do you know where the poet lived? Asked Jack. Very near here, said Plato. Will you take us there? 데려다 줄 수 있냐는 거지? Asked Annie. Yes, but I must warn you, never tell anyone who the poet is, said Plato. It's a secret. We won't whisper, Annie. Plato led them away from the outdoor theater. They start. 샤프로 하지 마. 연필로 충분히 잘 적을 수 있어져야지 샤프로 했을 때 더 빨리 적을 수 있는 거야.
학교에서 샤프로 써가지고 샤프로 빨리.
예빈아, 그게 잘못됐다라는 얘기를 하고 있는 거야. 연필로 연습하는 이유가 있어. 음필력은 연필로 기르는 거야. 샤프로 하는 거 아니고. 그리고 나서 샤프를 썼을 때 더 빨라지는 거야. 샤프로 했기 때문에 계속 샤프로 해야 된다가 아니라 연필로 잘할 수 있을 때 샤프를 쓰는 게 더 빠를 수 있기 때문에 연필로 연습하는 거야. They started down the dirt road. It was crowded with people heading to the games. Plato stopped at the door. 네가 왔다 갔다 하는 시간이 3시간, 4시간 이렇게 되고 있으면 어떡해? Stopped at the door of a sand-colored house with a brick roof. He opened the door and led Jack and Annie into an empty courtyard. Wait here, he said. He disappeared through a doorway. Jack and Annie looked around. Room opened on the shiny courtyard. Everything was quiet. The people who lived here must have gone to the games, said Annie. I bet you're right. I bet you're right, said Jack. He pulled out the Greek book and found a picture of a house. He read aloud. Man and woman live in separate parts of a Greek house. Women spent most of their time spinning and weaving and taking care of the kitchen. Boys were sent away to school when they were 7. Girls were not allowed to go to school. Girls can't go to school, said Annie. How do they learn to read and write? At the moment Flutter returned, with him was a young woman dressed in a long tunic with a colored border. She was holding a scroll and smiled a big smile. Finally, she said, other girls, other girl, Jack and Annie, meet your secret port, said Plot. Not fair. The young woman smiled at Jack and Annie. How did you learn to read and write? Annie asked. I taught myself, the woman answered. She wrote a poem and brought it to me, said Proto, because I have written and told people that I think a Greek girl should go to school and learn things. Is that the poem? Said Jack. He pointed to the pot scroll. Yes, said the young woman. It's a wonderful story, said but she will get in trouble if it is read in our ramp. You must take it back to your faraway home where it will be safe. The pot handed Jack her scroll. He put it into his backpack. Tell us your name, Annie said Annie. So we can tell people who wrote the story. The young woman shook her head. I cannot, she said. When she saw Annie's sad face, she added, you can tell people it was written by animals. That's your name? Asked Annie. No, animals mean that no one know who wrote it, said Plato. But that's not true, said Annie. I'm afraid the risk is too great, said Plato. Annie looked back at the woman. I'm sorry, said Annie. It's not fair, not at all. The poet smiled at her. I'm happy that you will take my story to your country, she said. Perhaps someday women everywhere will write books just like men. They will, said Jack. I promise. The young woman looked at him puzzled. It's true, said Annie. Thank you, Annie, the young woman said, and thank you, Jack. He bowed, then hurried out of the courtyard. Wait, said Annie. She started to go after the pot, but Plato stopped her. Come along, he said. The games will start soon. Plato then led Jack and Annie out of the Greek house back onto the dirt road. Girls can't write stories, grumbled Annie. They can't go to school. They can't be in place. I've had enough of ancient Greece. Let's get out of here. Wait, said Jack. What about the Olympics? Oh, yeah, said Annie. Her eyes got brighter. I almost forgot. Well, said Plato slowly, I would like to take you both to the games. I have a special seat in the viewing box. However, said looked at the Annie. He looked at the Annie. Don't hit me, he said. Girls cannot go to the Olympic either. Plato, 엔젤라, 신경 쓰지 마.
들어가긴 들어가네.
신경 쓰지 마. Don't care about that. A girl will get in terrible trouble if she go to the games, he said, and he sighed. It's really not fair, she said. I'm sorry, said Plato. My country is a democracy. We believe in freedom for our citizens, but I'm afraid right now that only means men. And he's right. It's not fair, said Jack. I think we should go home now. No, Jack, you go to the Olympic, said Annie, and Risty, you can tell me about it. Take note. What about you? Jack said, I will go back to that play at the outdoor theater. Annie said, meet me there when you are done. Jack didn't want to leave Annie alone, but he also didn't want to miss the Olympics. Go, have fun. Annie said. She began walking away. I will see you later. Bye, Plato. Bye, Annie, said Plato. And he turned back again and waved. I will tell you all about it, Jack called. This way, said Plato. 넌 똑바로 앉아서 그냥 하는 게 안 돼? 바르게 앉는다라는 게 뭔지 알려줘야 돼? 답답해. 그것도 안 되면 어떡해? He and Jack turned and joined the crowd heading toward the Olympic ground. Chapter 5. Hi, Zeus. This is the very first day of games, Plato told Jack. The day of chariot race, 전차 대회야. Oh, wow, whispered Jack. He couldn't believe he was going to see a chariot race. The modern Olympic Games didn't have a chariot race. They walked toward the racetrack. Plato pointed to a large building near the road. That is the gymnasium, he said. It is where our athletes train. They practice running and throwing the javelin and discus. We have a gymnasium at our school in Frog Creek, said Jack. We call it we call it a gym. People all over the world copy us Greek. Plato said, "Wait," said Jack. "I have taken note of any." He pulled out his notebook and wrote, "Ancient Greeks invented gyms." "Okay, we can go," said Jack. He tucked he tucked his notebook under his arm. As they moved along, Plato pointed to a beautiful tree nearby. The olive tree is our sacred tree, he said. The winner of the games will wear a crown made of from its branches. "Oh wow," said Jack, and he wrote, "Olive trees, sacred. Olive trees, sacred." Next, they passed a beautiful statue of a winged lady. "Who's that?" said Jack. She's Nick, the goddess of victory," said Plato. I quickly wrote, "Is goddess of victory." "Nick is important to the games," said Plato, "but the most important Olympic god is in there." He took Jack to a brick building with a huge column. They stepped through the door. It was a temple. Jack gasped. In the front of them loomed the biggest stage he had ever seen. The stage was at least 2 stories high. It was a bearded, bearded man sitting on a throne. It is the temple of Zeus, and that is a statue of Zeus himself, said Plato. The Olympic Games are played in his honor. He is the chief god of the Greek gods and goodness. Goodness. Goddess. Goodness. "Oh man," whispered Jack. "Yesterday, all the athletes came here," said Plato. "They swore to Zeus that they had trained for 10 months, and they promised to obey the rule of the games." The statue of the mighty god at Jack. Jack felt very small. "Hi, Zeus," he said. His voice was small too. So tiny trumpet sounds came from outside. "The hour has come," said Plato. "We must hurry. The Olympic parade begins." "Mystery Man," Chapter 6. Plato and Jack hurried past the crowds standing at the side of the racetrack. Everyone was shouting and cheering. "I have a seat next to the Judy. 판사님 옆에. Said Plato. He pointed to a tall stand with a row of branches. Plato led Jack through the crowd and up the step to their seat. "Wow, thanks," said Jack. He had a great view. The Olympic parade had already started. Musicians playing fife were at the front. Behind them marched the Olympic admirate the best in all of Greece. Jack sighed as he watched the parade going around the track, and he would really love it, he thought. The athletes in front are the runner, said Plato. Foot race at the oldest event of the Olympics. Jack pulled out his notebook and wrote, oldest event is foot race. Behind the runner are the boxer, said Plato. They are wearing special glove and bronze helmet. Jack wrote. Boxer wear gloves and helmets. Behind them behind them are the wrestler 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 said Plato and Jack wrote wrestler. When Jack looked up again, he saw a soldier standing up at him from the sideline. The soldier was dressed like the actor from the outdoor theater. He had on a long cape and a red crested helmet that covered most of his face. But something was strange. This soldier was short, really short. Here come the discus and javelin thrower, said Plato, and then the man in armor. What do you do? What do they do? What do they do? Asked Jack. They race wear full armor, said Plato. To him, he knew any word that was funny. He wrote in his notebook, some runner race in armor. Jack finished writing and looked back at the short-shouldered soldier. In a moment, the chariot race will begin, said Plato. Winning a chariot race is the greatest honor of the games. Jack just nodded. He was still studying. The short soldier was seen to be looking back at him. Suddenly, a small hand came up from the soldier's cave. The hand gave a little wave. Jack gasped. There was Annie's hand waving. The short soldier was Annie. Chapter 7. Go, go, go. Jack stared in armor at Annie. She was have brought a costume from the theater. He remembered Proteus' word, a girl will get in terrible trouble if she tried to attend the Olympic Games. Jack shook his head at her and pointed his finger as if to say, "Get out of here!" But Annie just waved at him again. Jack kept shaking his head at Annie. He even shook his fist and he turned back to watch the race. It is not a joke. It's not a joke. Jack shouted. Fluff turned and looked at him. Of course not, said Plato. We take the game very seriously. Jack felt his face grow hot. He glared at Annie's back. Just then the trumpet sounded. The chariots are taking their place, said Plato. Jack saw a dozen of chariots lined up on the racetrack. Each chariot was pulled by four horses. Jack glanced back at Annie. She was looking up at him, pointing at the chariot. The trumpet sounded again. The horses took off. The crowds went wild. They were cheering and screaming and stamping their feet. Cloud of dust rose as the chariot raced around the track, and he turned back to watch the race. She began jumping up and down. Go, 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 she shouted. A few people began staring at the strange small soldier with a high pitched voice. Jack couldn't take it anymore. He had to get Annie away before it was too late. He shoved his notebook into his pack. I have to go, he shouted to Plato. The philosopher looked surprised. Jack was afraid to tell him that Annie had broken the rule. I had a great time, but I have to go home now, said Jack. Thank you for everything. Have a safe journey, said Plato. Jack waved and started down the step. As he climbed down, he saw Annie pulled off her helmet. Her pigtail flew up and down as she jumped and shouted, Go, go, go! A soldier's cape fell off. Now lots of people were staring at her. Someone shouted for the guard, and he was too busy cheering to notice anything. They moved as quickly as he could, but two big guards got to Annie first. Chapter 8 Save Annie. The guard tried to pull Annie away from the chariot race. Annie looked surprised. Then she looked angry. Let go of him! Let go of him! No, let go of me. No. Let go of me. Let go of me. She shouted. Jack rushed down the step of the viewing stand. The guards were having a hard time pulling Annie through all the people. Leave her alone, Jack yelled. His voice was lost in the noise of the race. He pushed his way through the crowd. Leave her alone! He kept shouting. Leave her alone! Finally, Jack reached Annie and the guard. He tried to grab her, but the guard blocked his way. Let her go, yelled Jack. I promise I will take her home. More guards arrived. The crowd began to shout, Arrest her! Arrest her! The guard kept pulling Annie away. Jack! The story! Cried Annie. Of course, thought Jack. The poet's story. This is definitely our darkest hour. He reached into his bag and pulled out the poet's story. He held the story up to the sky. Save Annie! He shouted, but Jack's voice was again lost in the roar of the race as the poor horse's chariot barreled through the dust. Jack looked around wildly for someone or something to help them. Then suddenly the crowd fell silent. All had turned to watch, or a huge white horse galloped out of the dust. The crowd murmured with excitement and wonder. The white horse was the most beautiful animal Jack had ever seen. He was pulling an empty chariot, and he was galloping straight toward Jack. 뭐하니, 인자? 엄마 한 권 다 읽어간다. 한 권 다 읽는 동안에도 네가 그러고 있어. 아니, 그런 게 중요하지 않아. 어차피 그 손으로 글자 적는 것도 아니잖니. Chapter 9. Fly away home. The white horse had stopped at the rower by the edge of the track. His comforts crying Annie. The guard stared in awe at the horse. Annie broke free and dashed over to Jack. He grabbed her hand and they ran to the horse. The guard shouted and started after them, but they were too late. Jack and Annie had already climbed over the wall and into the waiting chariot. Go, go, go! Annie cried to the huge white horse. The horse reared and pawed the air. The crowd stepped back from the wall. The guard froze. Jack looked up to where Plato was now standing. Plato smiled and waved at him. Then the white horse leaped toward, pulling the chariot behind him. Jack couldn't even wave back at Plato. All he could do was holding on tight as the horse galloped beside the Olympic racer. Jack bounced up and down, dust and sand got in his eyes. He squeezed them shut and crouched down in the chariot. He didn't know where they were going, but it didn't matter. The white horse was in charge. Jack heard the thundering noise of the racing horse and chariot. He heard the screaming crowd. He felt sand flowing in his face and the heart bumping and rattling of the chariot. Suddenly he was thrown back out. He he heard a swoosh of wind. Then silence. Oh wow! Cried Annie. Jack opened his eyes. All he saw was the blue sky. He pushed his glasses into place and looked around. Help! He said. He cried. The white horse had grown giant, peacefully, peacefully wing and was pulling their chariot into the sky. He grabbed the railing of the chariot and held on his right. To the treehouse, shouted Annie. Below, the Olympic crowd watched in stunned silence. The wings, the horse left again behind and flew over the temple of Zeus, over the statue of Nick, over the sacred olive tree and Genesium. When they went over the pothouse, the Greek theater, and the field of white tent, finally the wind horse caught it to the ground near the olive grove. 흰발이 나타나서 날개가 돌아가. The wheel of the chariot bumped onto the grass. Then slowly, they came to a stop. Jack and Annie stepped out of the chariot. Jack's legs were so wobbly, he could hardly walk. Annie rushed to the horse and stroked his neck. "Thank you," she said. Jack patted the horse's long white neck too. "Thanks," he said. "That was the best ride of my life." The horse snorted and pawed the ground. "Come on, Annie. We have to go before they find us," said Jack. "I don't want to leave him," said Annie. "He's the most beautiful horse in the whole world." Her eyes filled with tears. "We have to go," said Jack. The horse put her head down and touched Annie's forehead with his soft nose. Then he gave her a gentle push toward the treehouse. Annie sniffled but started walking. Jack took her hand as they walked through the olive grove to the grove ladder of the treehouse. "You first," Jack said, and he started up the ladder. Jack followed. When they were inside, Annie hurried to the window. Jack grabbed the Pennsylvania book. He pointed to a picture of the Brook Creek woods and said, "I wish—" "Look!" said Annie. Jack looked out the window. The horse had spread his great powdery wings. He was rising from the field. The white horse flew high into the blue Olympian sky. Then he disappeared behind the cloud. "Bye!" called Annie. A tear rolled down her cheek. Jack pointed again at the Pennsylvania book. "I wish we could go there," he said. The wind started to blow. The treehouse began to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still, absolutely still. Chapter 10. They are all here. Jack opened his eyes. It was so dark he couldn't see anything. He packed his clothes. He was wearing his t-shirts and jeans again. The reader bag had turned back into his backpack. "Hello, hello," said Morgan Le Fay. Her voice came from the corner of the treehouse. "Hi," said Annie. "Did you have a good journey?" asked Morgan. I did," said Jack. "But girls can't do anything fun in an ancient Greece. I did one fun thing." And he said wistfully, "I rode in a chariot pulled by a flying horse." "That must have been wonderful," said Morgan. "You were very lucky to be bringing me the story of Pegasus." Pegasus. Who? Pegasus, said Morgan. He's the great white-winged horse in Greek mythology. Oh, yes, said Jack. I think I've heard of him. He put it in his backpack and found a scroll. He gave it to Morgan. He could still barely see her in the dark. It was written by any anonymous 작가입니다. Written by anonymous. Said Annie. I know, said Morgan. Many talented women use that name in the past. Her story will be a great addition to my Camelot library. Plato helped us find it, said Jack. Oh, my good friend Plato, said Morgan. He was one of the greatest thinkers who ever lived. And Pegasus was the greatest horse, said Annie. He sighed. I just wish I could see him again. You can, Morgan said softly. He's here right now. Pegasus? Cried Annie. Oh boy! Annie turned on the flashlight and used it to find her way down the rough ladder. Jack grabbed his backpack and followed her. When they were both standing on the ground, Annie shined her flashlight at the dark tree. Pegasus? She said. Where are you, Pegasus? Turn off your flashlight, Annie, said Morgan. She was looking down from the treehouse window, and you switched off the light. In the night, you can see all the story characters that saved you on your last formation, said Morgan. You are all here. Hercules, Hercules, and Silver, Shock, and Serpent Monster, and Pegasus. Jack pushed his glasses into place and studied the dark wood. Where are they, Big Morgan? Cried Annie. Where's Pegasus? Look hard, said Morgan. I can't see him, said Annie. Yes, you can, said Morgan. The old story are always with us. We are never alone. Have, has Morgan gone crazy? Wondered Jack. Look up, said Morgan. Your friends are in the night sky. They are star. Star? Whispered Jack. He stared at the shimmering field of tiny star overhead. Hercules is the constellation, said Morgan. The Roman imagine him kneeling in the sky, holding a club over his head. Morgan waved her finger at the sky. For a moment, Jack saw a living, pressing Her- Hercules' outline by star. And there's the sick weaver with her beloved cow herd, said Morgan. The ancient Chinese believed that they were two stars on either side of the Milky Way. Morgan waved her hand again. The lovely silk weaver was outright in the heaven. And long ago, the Irish believed the Milky Way itself was the serpent monster shaft, said Morgan. Morgan waved her hand. A giant serpent glittered through the sky, and the ancient Greek named one of their constellation Pegasus, said Morgan. She waved her hand again, and the white horses had wings and galloping legs glowed in the sky. I see him, said Annie. Then she whispered, I love you, Pegasus. Jack thought he saw the star as if Pegasus was rearing back in the sky. After the breathless moment of silence, Morgan lowered her arm, the night sky became a field of tiny glittering stars again. You have done amazing work as master librarian. As Morgan said Morgan, I would trust you with any important mission. Does that mean we are going to more trips? Asked Jack. Indeed it does, said Morgan. Many more. Jack smiled with relief. When is our next mission? Asked Annie. As soon as I need your help, I will send you, said Morgan. Go home now and rest. Goodbye, said Annie. Goodbye, said Jack. Farewell, said Morgan. There was a sudden rushing of wind, then a blow and blinding light. And Morgan left hay, and the magic tree house vanished. The night was still. Huh? Asked Annie. Sure, said Jack. As they walked between the tree, the Procreek woods were pitch black. Jack couldn't see a thing, but he didn't ask Annie to turn on the flashlight. For once, he wasn't worried about finding way home. His way home. He felt as if someone or something was leading them through the woods. Morgan's word came back to him. The old story are always with us. We are never alone. They looked up at the star again. They were beginning to fade in the growing light of dawn. But he thought he could hear the beating of a giant wing somewhere high above.
벌써 두 페이지 다
나는 한 권을 다 읽었어. 벌써 2페이지를 쓰는 게 아니라 3페이지 쓰는 동안에 책 한 권 읽겠다고 했는데
아니 여기 노트
나한테 아니라고 하지 말고 열심히 쓰시라고요.
아마 이렇게 한 페이지 두 페이지 한 페이지
큰일이다.